So you've heard about this story here. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out.
See it? Can they see it on the thing?
Yes, they can see it. It's
the Spotify
Let
story.
me
Yes, I know all
double
about
check that
this.
before I go 100% in. Yes.
I even commented heavily on Facebook about this.
Alex has been an internet warrior about this.
That's right. I've been trolling. The internet.
No, there's a difference between trolling and being an internet warrior.
That's true.
All right.
That's true. All right. I'm not a troll.
Okay. So we'll just kick this right off. I guess probably almost everybody has heard that Neil Young offered Spotify an ultimatum: remove Joe Rogan for allegedly spreading misinformation, which he didn't specify at all. Like
Nobody ever does.
They just throw it out there. Misinformation.
It's like you're a racist. It's like calling somebody racist.
It doesn't mean anything.
It's like, show your work.
It's virtue signaling to the mob, right? That everybody hates Joe Rogan now for having scientists on his show that disagree with the mob.
Well, you know who Matt Walsh is. They did the same thing when he was on
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil.
Yeah, that was I love
funny. When he said,
that was hilarious.
Tell me what a woman is. Oh, a woman's whatever is to each person. No, how about you write it down what the definition of a woman is? I can't see how that's not insulting to people. But anyways, let's carry on.
You're already off topic.
I know.
Yeah. So Neil Young offers Spotify this ultimatum. Remove Joe Rogan's content or remove my content. Spotify pretty much immediately responded. Do we have Spotify's take here? Yeah, they responded with, we want all the world's music and audio content to be available to Spotify users. With that comes great responsibility and balancing both safety for listeners and freedom for creators. Since the pandemic, the spokesman noted Spotify has removed more than 20,000 COVID-related podcast episodes. Still, Young's protests were not sufficient for it to drop its lucrative star talker. We regret Neil's decision to remove his music from Spotify, but hope to welcome him back soon. The spokesperson. I was just kind of like, thanks, bye.
Well, it's basically saying, hey, once you come to your 76-year-old senses and you realize that we're a massive platform and you didn't gain anything by stamping your feet, holding your breath.
Yeah,
that's all he did. He's like, if you don't take it, I'm gonna hold my breath.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure this guy used to be like the sort of pro-freedom sort of...
He's a hippie.
Yeah.
Well, no, but that's the problem. The 60s and 70s hippies are now the progressives. That's the problem.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
they're the ones that went to the universities and changed the universities.
No. You're a little bit off, but
you're
not 100%. You're not 100% wrong about this, but you're off. The hippies got subverted by Marxists. The Marxists went into the universities and changed everything.
Well, who do you think the hippies were? The hippies are the ones
that
got...
were not.
Listen,
were not
the hippies
Marxists.
are the ones that got all the diplomas and shit. They're the ones that became the... It's like whether they got
no. The Marxists went into the universities. The hippies went to Woodstock and did drugs and then complained about.
And then
and they grew old.
Well, in between,
they were not. This was not the group of people that were the Marxists. The Marxists are not pro-freedom. The Marxists never were.
Hold on a second. You're saying the hippies then grew old. What did they do for the 40 years between?
They advocated for freedom of speech.
No, they worked somewhere, and they worked in universities, and they worked.
It wasn't them in the universities. You're misaligning.
So none of them went to the universities. And
some of them did.
Of course they did.
They weren't the ones subverting.
And they brought their idealistic ideas with them, and they got subverted into different friggin' ideas.
It was the Marxists that went into the universities and subverted the culture. The hippies were not Marxists.
So all that's what it was. It was all the Marxists. So they're the ones that got all they became all the professors and shit. No, man.
Yes.
No.
Have you ever been to a university in the last 10 years?
I'm not saying that they're not that.
They're all freaking Marxists.
I'm not saying that they're not that way, but I'm saying is those people that started out as hippies grew up and they had all these different ideas, all these different socialist ideas. And then they became the people
not
that
the ones influencing.
Children.
No, they were not the ones influencing the culture. The Marxists were by design influencing the culture. The hippies grew old. The hippies are fucking out of touch now because if you were a teenager in the 60s and the 20s, they're completely out of touch now. And so what happens is what the Marxists have done is because they are fucking good at politics and propaganda, is they have subverted the language. And so they will come through and use things like The hippies were very much against racism, right? In the 60s and 50s, when racism was a thing, that was a battle worth fighting, the civil rights battle.
Sure.
You know, Martin Luther King Jr. and all that jazz.
And all that jazz.
The
Martin Luther King and
well, you're acting like there wasn't a whole plethora.
Martin Luther King and
yeah, because there wasn't a whole plethora of stuff
and those
going
guys
on,
there,
you know, at the time, and he was just a figurehead. All of that, you now have the Marxists. They know how to fucking talk to the hippies because they say, "Oh, these people over there are racist." They react emotionally to that because they are out of touch. They have no idea what the difference is, but they have redefined the words. And this goes back into the 70s and into the literature of of the social studies, where they were really redefining all of these things, and that grew out. So like the hippies are the fucking naive old people today, and then the young people.
So what did they do in the 40 years that they were in the workforce?
What everyone else is. They worked in a factory.
Oh, that's all they did. That's all they did.
They were not the ones that.
Come on,
not
man.
the professors.
There was a shit ton of them. You don't think some of them went into the universities and some of them did different things?
Their names are Jordan Peterson.
Okay.
And
Anyways,
and Brett Weinstein.
Okay, all right. So
there was
a magical.
They were not the Marxists,
there was a magical 100 and whatever. There was a magical million people that we didn't know about in the 70s and 60s and 70s that magically came out of the woodwork and became all the professors and stuff in the universe. No, it was
not a million people.
It was people that had idealistic ideas back then that were for movements and things. They're the people that went and got jobs in universities, became professors and became teachers and these kinds of things. And they pushed these little what were like socialist agendas, but they were all nice. I mean, they're all nice ideas. Socialism's a nice idea, of course. And nobody's trying to hurt anybody or take anything from anybody or kill anybody. This isn't like Stalin. This isn't Stalingrad. This is people that think that everybody deserves healthcare and everybody deserves free education. Everybody deserves all these things. And they don't think about how to spend it. They're nice people with stupid ideas. And that's what the hippies did. They eventually grew up and went into the workforce and got some pretty decent jobs and pretty decent positions and became principals and deans and things like that. And they pushed their stupid agenda. And it became a radical agenda over the last maybe 5-10 years with these different movements and things. And all this stuff starts well enough. You know, like it starts with great ideas, or like nice ideas. I mean,
where the ideas were, like the Marxists existed during the hippie movement.
Of course they did. They've existed since
exactly
fucking forever. But you act like it was like all of a sudden that's when they moved in and did all this shit.
No, I'm not the one saying all of a sudden. You're the one saying that all these fucking people all of a sudden went to university.
I said that the hippies are the ones that got all the jobs and shit because they're the ones that started bringing this sort of progressive left movement. It might have been pushed harder.
You shouldn't call it progressive left. You should call it liberal.
No,
that's what it is.
No, it's not liberal.
The
that's
hippie movement was
liberals.
liberalism.
That's insulting liberals. Liberals are
no.
like Rogan's a liberal.
Yeah, Rogan's a hippie.
Yeah, but Rogan's a liberal. Rogan's not a progressive leftist.
No, that's what I'm saying.
There's a difference. It's the same with saying a conservative versus an
That's what I'm
alt-right.
saying. When you say that the hippies brought the progressive, like they absolutely did not. Under no circumstances ever did they do that.
Wow, why am I so gassy today?
I don't know what you ate.
No, it's because I didn't eat enough of anything, and I'm drinking beer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hangry, so this is going to be chirpy.
Hangry.
This is going to be chirpy. This one's going to be chirpy.
Chirpy.
All right. Well, anyways, all right. We'll agree to disagree on that sort of start. Let's just get back to what we were talking about because now we've lost track a little with Rogan. I want to get back to it because I read all of this and I've been on top of it for the last couple of days and I just thought it was hilarious that like again we talked about it just before the podcast. Neil Young's got some decent music. I mean, he was part of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Nothing against his career, or him as an artist, right? Yeah. But back to the original point. The hippies are the pro-freedom, anti-war.
I thought the original point.
Yes, and then you went off about how the hippies were the Marxists.
I thought the original point was this.
No, because Neil Young was a hippie. He's 70 years old. He was. I'm pretty sure he was a very vocal member, and that's why he's in politics now. And the whole point that I was trying to get at, he was, as far as I'm aware, I don't know the details, but as far as I'm aware, he was a very vocal sort of member of the anti-war, pro-freedom movement back in he's in his 70s, so probably like the 80s and the 70s and the 90s, When was he huge? Probably around the time that he was
70s
huge.
and 80s.
Yeah, so I think he was a very vocal member of like that whole civil rights thing. And then now, because he's old, he doesn't understand what's going on. And maybe even back then, this gets into a deeper point into sort of people's psyche, and a topic that I have written down on here that we might touch on later, where it's like he is doing and saying things that he perceives he's not doing them because he has this moral stance to take, because he's not talking about like specific things that, you know, Joe Rogan has said or anything like that. He's just using broad language and terms, right? Hand waving. It's as if he's looking at sort of the mob. He's like, what does the mob say is the right thing to do? And I'm going to do that. And that seems to be what he's doing here. And it's very fucking weird. It's just the only reason I brought that up is because it's weird that somebody who was a part of that pro-freedom, anti-war kind of, you know, left-wing movement when the left wing was liberal, he is now gone the complete other way. Now he's, you know, pro-book burning. Right, when you say get rid of Joe Rogan, you know,
It's the equivalent of book burning, yeah.
Yeah, you're literally saying, okay, you, Alex, right? I want to make it impossible for you to listen to what Joe Rogan has to say. And you don't have a right to choose to listen to Joe Rogan because Joe Rogan is dangerous, right? So you don't have the freedom to choose. I get to choose for you what content enters your ears. That's what he's saying.
No, it's
and that's fucking baffling to me.
But this is everybody says this is like a left thing only. It's both sides. It's the extreme left and the extreme right. It makes up a small minority. Well, no, it's a bigger minority than we'd like to be lately.
Well, this is the thing. It's the left now, because the way the culture shifts, the authoritarian, whatever side authoritarianism lands on, pushes everybody else away who's just trying to live their life.
Sure.
And so there are authoritarians on both sides or all sides. I think it's really weird and maybe overly simplistic to be like there's two sides when there's like fucking 12.
No, we just you're lumping into two different groups. Like you're the extreme on the left, the extreme on the right. Because the rest of the people, there's such a medium.
Right, but you got to think about it in the context of the cultural paradigm, like what is left and what is right. Like right now, left is authoritarianism, plain and simple, right? And right is everything else. You know, you got libertarians, you got anarchists, you got liberals, like proper liberals, you got like, you know, classical sort of conservative right-wing people. All of that gets lumped in on the right. If the left did away with the authoritarianism and the right did it up, I think a huge portion of those people are just gonna, like in the 90s, they're gonna be on the left again. And
I don't know what you mean by that. I think it's like, so I think the right has always been the right and the left has always been the left. It's just now we see more of it. I mean, you've always had what I always say. No. I just use the 80%. Let me make my point before you disagree. You just quick. No.
Well, that was a dumb statement.
I don't think that's a dumb statement.
The left has not always been the left, and the right has not always been the right, especially in
So conservative. So people that were conservative.
Okay, go back to the 90s.
You're saying.
Well, what is conservative?
Conservative is.
You're just saying nothing.
What are you talking about? Conservative are people that like guns, freedom, basically, and less government. It's always been that way. When's that ever changed? That's always been the
That's not
case.
True.
For conservatives, have always been that way. Tell me when that was different.
What was it? In like the 80s, the conservatives were the pro-government. They were...
what are you talking about? Fucking... what do you think Reagan did? He was deregulation Reagan. He deregulated everything.
Did they actually call him that?
No, but
they should have.
But he was...
Donald Trump should have been
Donald
on that
Trump
team.
is the second president. Donald Trump, I don't think he even deregulated as much as Reagan did. Reagan was the fucking king of deregulation.
Wasn't Trump doing like
you should see some of the you'll like this. You should look it up. You should look up some of Reagan's speeches. He had one back in I think in the 60s before he was even president, talking about big government and the military industrial complex. He has this fantastic speech about it. It's one of the best speeches you're ever going to watch. And it was before he was president. So he was like the first Trump essentially, because they fought him. They tried to make it like he was an idiot. He was an actor and he had no business being president. So it is almost the exact same thing as Trump. If social media had been something back in the 80s, He would have been slandered and smashed just like Trump was. But anyways, so my point was the right and the left. They've always been there, but they're. It's like this game is going on where it's like each is trying to. And again, I'm not talking about this meaty middle, which I always consider the 80% meaty middle, somewhere left of center, right of center, that kind of thing. Or, there's nobody that's dead center. But anyways, so these two sides are competing with each other as far as like, okay, we're going to move this shit hard this way. And they hard combat it this way and vice versa. It's like, and then everybody in the middle goes, what the fuck are we doing? What are you talking about with this bullshit authoritarianism and lack of freedom of speech or defunding the police and all this shit? Or like they look the same at the right side. The people that are like marching with their guns and don't take my guns from me. And they're like, whoa, man, like fucking relax. Like there's something in the middle where most people lie, I think. But what I'm saying is that those two sides are just as crazy. It's just we seem to focus a lot on the left because at least with the right, we go, all right, they're fucking crazy, but they're not trying to take away our freedom of speech or try to create an authoritarianism thing, right? Where the left is. I feel like you want to say something. You got like a look.
I don't know how to say it.
Okay.
But what you're doing is kind of dumb. Like you're discounting. You're discounting the cultural. By the way,
fuck you. What I'm doing is kind of dumb.
It's kind of.
Oh, okay.
You're discounting the cultural zeitgeist, right? Like in the culture, in the greater culture, there is the left and there is the right, and that is always the case. And it's not the same throughout history. The fucking Overton window shifts and all that jazz. But you're looking at it like, yeah, it's true. They're fucking 80% in the middle, and then you got fucking extremists on the left and the right, or But in the greater culture, you have things that are accepted as left-wing and right-wing that shift at different points in time. And it isn't that the focus is on the left.
I agree with
It's that at the moment, the left is where the authoritarianism is. And everything that...
So do you think... hold on. Before you go into that point, do you think authoritarianism was ever on the right?
Yes.
Tell me when. When was authoritarianism ever
I think
on the right?
You can count Nazi Germany as authoritarian right.
And
I think you can count like the Puritan Christian movement, banned Dungeons and Dragons as authoritarian right.
Hold on a second though. So how does Nazism
well, if you want to have the argument about whether Nazism is left or right wing, that's an interesting conversation to be had. But
the communists have always been considered left. So then how does fascism or how does the Nazism fit into modern conservatism?
It's farther right than that. That's how. At least in the political compass.
So you don't think that still exists?
What, the fascism?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always been right. The far right.
Yeah.
Right. So what are you trying to say?
You just asked me.
But you're saying it's switched, somehow switched.
You just asked me.
So what do you think? Nazism is on the left now?
No, because the right wing is not what's the fucking word? They're not pushing authoritarianism. There are places. If you go on the internet, you can find real Nazis. You can find that.
Yeah, but they've always been on the right.
Yeah.
Right. What I asked you is when have they ever switched? And you said they switched. Somehow they were on the left at one point. I didn't
say that.
But I said the left has always been the left and the right has always been the left. And you said
I said that the left is pushing authoritarianism now.
Right.
They weren't in the past, in say the 90s. In the 90s, the right was pushing authoritarianism, and it was the freaking 90s. It was the Puritan Christian thing. The banned Dungeons and Dragons. They were the book burning crowd. Now they are not, like, they still exist, but they're not in the mainstream. There is no right-wing figure in the mainstream. Some people will call Joe Rogan right-wing. Without Tucker Carlson, Glenn Beck, Bill O'Reilly. None of these people are out there advocating that we get rid of Dungeons and Dragons because it's satanic. What you're saying.
Okay, so I know what you're saying. But go ahead. Before you
go on CNN, right. They're saying ban Joe Rogan.
Okay, I get what you're saying, but listen. When was the left, the far left, ever non-authoritarianism?
Never.
Exactly. So what you're basically saying, you said it wrong, but you're trying to say that the right was authoritarian, which I agree with you. But what I'm saying is the left has never not been.
No, I'm saying that
so at some point they both become authoritarianism. When you go far enough right, they want to control you with religion.
That's horseshoe theory.
Yeah, when you want to, they want to go with.
Horseshoe
Hold on, but I just want to make this point real quick before you get into that because that feels like it's going to be longer.
That's a simple point.
Yeah, so the far right's always considered like the religious, like fucking crazies that are trying to control everybody to think the way I think, believe what I believe.
The 90s
and the left is the other way. The left is not religion. It's just authoritarianism.
But it is functionally religion.
Well, okay.
With wokeness it
works the same way.
It has taken on.
Yeah, it works the same way. But it's
religious
not like
foundation. Yeah, it's not in like
right. It doesn't.
It's becoming organized, which is weird. It's not though. Like
so somehow we just circled around and we agreed with each other. How the fuck did that happen? Because you wanted to. That probably does. You wanted to jump all over me when I made a point.
Because you're
and then
misunderstanding what I'm saying.
Listen, you remade my point essentially for me. It's like you're trying to be contrary to what I said, but then you ended up making my point for me.
No, you're projecting that onto me. That's how you're acting.
You just want to fight about nothing today. I don't know what you want to talk about today. But okay, how about we just get back to this? Because I thought
related to this.
I just thought it was funny that he put that letter out, and I don't know what way he thought it was going to go. Like, really,
it's hard to know.
I feel like his label and shit,
it's
like his
hard.
Record label. But so
maybe.
with like him, he doesn't own most of his fucking shit. His record label owns it. Right?
Probably,
they've been sales. Oh, yeah, you can probably look it up. I guarantee he owns very little rights to any of his shit.
Big name, though he might, because he might have had the opportunity to buy it.
You could probably look it up, and I'll bet you anything. He's been around for so long.
It doesn't matter. I know that he said that, I think he said it, or his agent or whatever said that he's given up 60% of his streaming revenue.
Yeah.
Which who knows how much that is.
But anyways, my point on that is that, what way do you think that he thought this was going to go down? Did he think that Spotify was going to go, okay, listen, we got the number one podcast in the world, arguably the most popular show in the world right now. What's it, like 11 million views every episode or something like that on average? It's something like that. Like it's
the most popular.
It crushes the top 3 news organizations combined. Yeah,
it's not even news organizations. Like,
but I'm saying, people.
What's the most popular fucking TV show right now? It probably pales in comparison to Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah. I mean, but if you look at shows like Seinfeld or like Friends and stuff back in the day, man, holy shit.
Maybe not. Yeah.
But they wouldn't. I don't think it'd even touch those. Because those were crazy what they were getting.
Yeah.
But
that's a different time.
TV's dying. It's a different.
But yeah, because that's what people did. Now you can go on the internet.
But anyways, like my point is, what did he think they were going to do? Did he think they were going to go? Okay, listen, Neil, you're right. We're gonna back off. We're gonna kick this guy off, or we're gonna somehow fucking censor him. So tell him what he can't talk about. When really that's what keeps him popular.
I think it's just virtue points.
You know what I think it is?
I think it's all.
I think it's hubris. I think this asshole thinks he's so fucking special that somehow people were gonna go, "Oh my God, Neil Young wants Joe Rogan off? Yeah, he's the general to attack him. Fuck you, pal." I love that they so quickly went, "Okay, cool, we'll pull your shit off." Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, asshole. That's what you get.
Yeah,
and I'm not even the type to like.
It could be hubris. I think it's just like virtue points.
Yeah,
I think it's just signaling.
But why though? Like, is he?
Well,
he's
I don't
not really in the
understand
mainstream.
I don't understand it either. But people do that.
He's 76. I think he's got stupid ideas in his head, and he's like,
he's got this idea that he's right,
and he probably
but he's an idiot.
No, I know what probably happened is somehow over time period he got so angry about it somehow. You know what I mean? And then just
that's what you're seeing, right?
Yeah.
With the dreaded word, mass formation psychosis.
Yeah.
He could be one of those people that has kind of fallen into that, especially as an older person. It's a little easier to get roped into the propaganda and like fear, because you are in the high risk category. Even though the risk is still relatively low, you're in that risk category. And
it could also be too that he's getting to the twilight of his life and he's getting a little. Well, I mean, but seriously, I don't mean to be a dick when I say it. but he's up there, right? So he's
Yeah.
getting towards the end of his life, and maybe he feels like I haven't been relevant for a while, and maybe this is the way, you know, I tag myself to Joe Rogan somehow, and
Maybe.
now I become relevant as a fucking freedom
I feel
fighter.
like that's
or
more
something.
like something you do like in your 40s and 50s, though.
Yeah, but you don't know.
You know?
People go through weird
Yeah.
fucking things, right? It's like, you know, you have different points in your life where you all of a sudden your mind changes and you do some weird fucking shit, or like, you know, you see men in their 40s and 50s and they go get a sports car and they get a young girlfriend or something because, like, you know, it's just some weird bullshit midlife crisis crap. Maybe this is end life crisis.
Yeah, that maybe there's something to it.
I don't know. It's like it's
I don't
stupid.
know. I feel like there's got to be research.
You know what I hope it is, though? You know what I hope this is? I hope this is a good fucking lesson for any other asshole that comes out and goes, hey, you know what? I'm going to attack Joe Rogan or anybody else that they don't want, Tucker Carlson or these people, and they go, I'm going to attack these people, and I'm going to use, you know, my clout to do this, and they see what happened to Neil Young, and they go, you know what? Maybe I'm not going headlong into this fight. Maybe I'll just shut the fuck up.
I feel like with the headlines, it's gonna, in a different way, maybe encourage people to do it for clout.